Thank you for coming. This press release, press conference is basically hopefully going to give you a little bit of information, update on where we're at with Drill Chem. It was a significant event here in Conroe. I do want to take a moment here to be able to thank a number of agencies that helped us out to make sure that this was a safe event for us. And so let me mention those agencies that assisted with the fire was Cut and Shoot Fire Department, Caney Creek, the Woodlands, North Montgomery County, Needham, Montgomery County Hospital District, Atascocita Volunteer Fire Department, Montgomery County Fire Marshal's Office, Montgomery County Sheriff's Office, some Montgomery County Constable's Office, Conroe Public Works Department, and Conroe PD. At this time, I'm going to let Fire Marshal Mike Lagudis give you a little bit of information about the fire.
A little review about what occurred on August 14th at approximately 4:44 p.m. we received a call of a fire at Drill Chem located at 4301 North Loop 336 East. We arrived approximately 2 minutes later to find most of the two buildings as well as surrounding vegetation fully involved in fire. With a business like this, we aren't sure exactly what's inside. We know that a lot of times there are hazardous materials. So we took a defensive approach, meaning that we stood back, we waited till we knew what we had, and during that time we actually had at least one explosion occur, which I'll show you. This is a picture of the site here. We had three tanks on the exterior of the building. They were mostly empty. This tank here did have a small amount of product in it, and it did rupture. The top of the tank landed over here near the fence line. It didn't go very far. It was still significant enough that we needed to stay back and make sure that the scene was safe for our firefighters to get close to. We did have some indications that there was nobody inside. Mainly at that point the gates were closed and locked, and we later found out from the building ownership that the last employee had left for the day at 4:00 p.m. The incident was officially declared under control at about 6:51 p.m. This is what we saw when we arrived. Actually, this was prior to our arrival. This was taken by a citizen. It indicates the area of the building where the fire started. As you can see, it quickly became a large and out of control fire. Now, this picture here shows the ruptured tank and some of the aftermath. This one I threw in there. It was worth mentioning. We talk about the importance of fire sprinkler systems and how they can control a fire. Another component that can control a fire quite well is a firewall. Now, what you see here is the point where a firewall is installed. The fire burned to that point, and as you can see, didn't damage the rest of the building. The portion of the building not damaged was the office portion. This allowed Drill Chem personnel to recover a lot of their records and computer servers and things like that that will help them get back in operating. As far as the investigation goes, we still have some work to do. We have determined that the fire was accidental in nature. There are several possibilities as to what the cause could have been. They include electrical, gas-powered mechanical equipment that was in the shop, as well as spontaneous combustion, which could be caused by oily rags used and disposed of, which is something that we see occasionally in operations like this. It's not uncommon for cleaning and storage like that to occur. So we're working to rule out the different possibilities and hopefully eventually get to a cause that we can with confidence say that this is how the fire occurred. At this point, I will turn it over to the Drill Chem CEO, Brandon Hayes.
I also want to thank everybody that was involved in the first response, City of Conroe Fire Department, as well as all the other fire departments that responded. In addition, the ATF, TCEQ, EPA, SOS, and CTI, and all the other first responders. They reacted very quickly to get this under control and have done a phenomenal job from the onset through today where we're beginning the remediation process. As always, our employees and the community is our #1 concern, and we take every precaution to make sure that we operate in a safe manner. Even in difficult situations like this, we're acting quickly to ensure that the environment, the community is protected. Working with the EPA as well as the Conroe Department, was able to determine that there was no air pollution and no contamination to the outside environment. We're still working with environmental companies to evaluate the extent of the damage to the property and working with TCEQ on a remediation plan. I appreciate all you guys coming out here and covering this. We're working with investigators to continue to figure out what the root cause of this event was. Nobody's more curious than us to find that out. And we'll be able to communicate that once we figure out what the cause was.
Could you talk about what have you determined was in the facility as far as chemical-wise?
So we've been working with the Conroe Fire Department as well as all the other agencies involved to get them lists. We've done a real good job of getting down to every last detail of getting them chemical lists, but we're not ready to release that at this time yet.
So you know the list that you've given them?
Correct.
Sir, when you say there was no pollution, you mean there was no chemical spills? Can you elaborate?
No air pollution was detected through the air quality monitor as well as the sampling the EPA did, and nothing escaped our property. So all potential contamination has been contained inside of our property boundaries.
You talked about that tank. The fire marshal highlighted the tank that ruptured and had a small amount of product in it. What was that? I mean, I know you said we can't necessarily say what sort of other products were in the facility, but what was that thing that ruptured? And that seems like what set this whole thing off.
At this point, what I've been told is that the fire did not start with an explosion. That is what the investigators are concluding without knowing the root cause. As far as the exact chemical composition that's in there is something that we're not really ready to release yet. But the reason for the explosion is not determined at this time.
Were there any other chemicals other than the ones that were listed on your website? Any other products in there that you might have been experimenting with, or any product you haven't rolled out yet?
Yes, not necessarily experimental products, but online we have about 12 to 15 products listed, and there's a number of more products that were stored inside the warehouse.
How many employees work there? I know they were all on for the day, but how many on a regular basis?
12.
How long has the company existed?
We were founded in September of 2000 as Louisiana LLC.
This might be more for any fire official to be able to say, but what sort of communications or inspections have you guys had with the company in the last year or two that they've been at the facility they're at right now?
They've been in the facility since July of 2013. At that point is when we did their certificate of occupancy inspection. They passed that inspection with no problems.
How is the firefighter doing? Who was injured?
He's been released. He was suffering from severe dehydration. He was released on Monday and is actually cleared to come back to work. He's fully recovered.
How many pieces of apparatus did you end up having in there?
I'm thinking it was about 14 or 15.
How did weather affect the fire, as far as your firefighters out there?
When the weather is that hot, it's difficult at best to do any work outside under any conditions, really. For firefighters especially so, they have to wear heavy turnout gear, they have to wear air packs, and that stuff exacerbates the conditions, to be sure.
Any other questions?
I noticed when I was doing some research about some of the products that you had listed on your website, the safety data sheets, you guys said there are certain regulatory acts and legislation that you guys don't necessarily fall under, but and CERCLA was one of those. But underneath the emergency management annexes, I believe we were speaking about those earlier, you know, was Drill Chem considered a regulated facility? Did they have to report which sort of chemicals they were handling to your department?
How about yes, they have some regulated stuff, but I have not seen that list. That would be with the LAPC, and we're working with Montgomery County LAPC. But they're required to do some Tier 2 reporting, and those Tier 2 reports go to the LAPC as well as to the fire department, local fire departments. We usually get those on an annual basis, and we send them to our LAPC, and they're the repository for the whole county. Any other questions?
Will you be reassigning employees, or what will their status be until this is all?
We're still evaluating that. We still have a little ways to go to figure out exactly where we're going to be reassigning everybody, but no one's being let go at this time.
There were 12 people that work in this building on a regular basis?
Yes.
Y'all normally close down by 4 o'clock in the evening?
We typically close the office between 5 and 6 p.m. on a weekday. On Fridays, we get out early. It just depends on how the work week's going.
So there was a drone in use. Was that to sort of scan the building area, or was that to sort of scan the forest in the back to make sure there wasn't anything that was, because I heard there was some forest, so there was a fire on the neighboring sort of property.
If there was a drone in use, it wasn't ours. Somebody else was operating that.
Okay, that's all I'm bridge
Please have your name, spell your name correct.
BRANDONHAYES.
Who is this gentleman that you behind you?
This is Brad Moore, our Chief Operating Officer.
M-O-O-R-E.
Any more questions? Well, I want to thank you for coming. I didn't introduce myself. I am the fire chief with the city of Conroe, Ken Cracker. And I appreciate you all being here. Once we find out anything further, you know, like Brandon has says, that we will get back with you and let you know. I would expect that that's going to take a while. We've released the building back to them and their control. EPA, TCQ is still working with them to get everything cleaned up. We're still monitoring that with them, and so we're very pleased with the operation, the way it's going and clean. All right, thank you very much.